everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And I'm Dan Beecher.
And coming up today, Dan, cancel culture and the Bible.
You never know who's going to be canceled next. It is a mad world of cancellations.
So we're going to ask ourselves, in light of, what's the doofus on Fox News?
Fox News.
Hemmer something or other. He
Bill Hemmer.
Bill Hemmer. In
Bill
light
Hemmer's
of
worried.
him saying that, what's next, the Bible? Well, sure. Let's take a look at the Bible. So we're going to get to that in the second half of the show. But before we get to the rest of the show, Dan, we need to announce something that's coming up for our patrons.
Yeah.
We're having a patrons-only live stream on March 8th at 7 p.m. We're holding a little... That's going to be Monday evening. Those of you familiar with Mormonism, we're having a little...
The Mormons call it their family home evening, but we do not promise to be
special night, Dan.
Mormon family friendly.
So
that is not a promise we're making.
Have some FHE with all y'all.
So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of time. That's on the 8th of March. Mm-hmm. So there's plenty of time for you guys to sign up as patrons if you want to be a part of it. Anyone who got to be part of our New Year's Eve spectacular,
so much fun,
knows that it's a lot of fun. We won't have all the guests that we had for that. That was a spectacular. We're not doing a spectacular. We're doing a live stream, but it'll be a lot of fun. So all you patrons have that to look forward to. We will send you an email if you are a patron.
Yes.
Or some emails, and you'll know how to access it. Yeah. And the rest of you, go sign up on Patreon. Go to thankgodimatheist.com if you want to, and you can sign up and be a patron, and then you get to be part of it. Anyway.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Dan. Yeah.
Can we do a show?
There is plenty of show coming up at you, Dan. This last week, Dan.
Yeah.
The Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
Nailed it. Perfect.
That's what it is. I've heard that before.
Yeah.
He was asked a question, Dan.
Oh,
very important.
As you would want to do.
Well, and
who wouldn't want to ask him a question?
He's a wise old man, leader of a nation, and so he was asked, this is how it was asked: is observing hijab, meaning wearing a headscarf, women wearing headscarves, necessary for characters in animated films? So apparently this has been a thing, like it's an officially Islamic country that's it's a theocracy, right? Like it is run by the Iran's clergy.
I mean, they have a democracy.
Not really. No.
That's like this pretend thing, but really the Ayatollah calls all of the shots.
Yeah. So they have regularly opposed foreign movies and television series coming into the country that portray women without hijabs, right? If there's a woman in it that doesn't have a hijab, they don't want it, right? On their television or in their movie theaters. Right. And so, but apparently there must have been this gray area. I mean, someone would have to explain like how this is even coming up. But he says, although wearing hijab in such a hypothetical situation, I don't know what's hypothetical about that, is not required per se.
Because you can't wear anything if you don't exist. Please continue.
Observing hijab in animation is required due to the consequences of not wearing hijab.
Oh my God!
So, that
slut Merida in Brave needs to cover all of that bouncy curly hair.
Well, they don't want to give women any ideas, right? I'm like,
what if it was just flowing free? I like, where is this line drawn? Does Smurfette have to wear a hijab? I don't know.
She has flowing, blonde flowing hair, yes. And it's actually a
also
major...
not a human.
Yes, but there's an origin story, Dan. She has hair. She starts off as that evil character created by Gargamel, right?
We are so dating ourselves. This is not an acceptable conversation.
Do you remember this storyline? And then she goes to the Smurfs, and I can't remember what evil she tries to conspire, but she has dark hair. It's so awful, right? She has dark hair, and then when Papa Smurf makes her good, she gets blonde hair. Isn't that terrible?
Oh my God, she becomes white and delightsome.
She does.
Good Lord.
Who knew the animators on that show were?
I just want to know where this line is drawn, because, like, does a main character in an animated film who is a cat but is clearly an anthropomorphized woman cat, does she have to wear the hijab?
Yes, Dan, of course. There's no loopholes. Right? There's no loopholes. You just need to be super strict.
Everything in every dogmatic religion is all about what loopholes there are.
That's the funny thing with, like, extreme, or just Islam. It doesn't seem to really... Yeah. They just go hard, right? Oh, is there any question?
Yeah.
With that,
then
nope. Hijab.
What's the most restrictive answer I can give? Okay, that's the one.
We're going to go with that. That's the spirit of what Iran is up to. So yes.
All right. Well, not to be outdone in dickishness, I'm gonna talk about a Catholic school in Sacramento, California, the Sacred Heart Parish. Obviously, a wonderful school, I'm sure. Has recently expelled some children.
Oh, and what did they do?
And here's
what
the
did
thing.
They do, Dan?
They didn't do anything.
I'm sure.
Literally,
I'm sure they're little angels.
No, they literally didn't do anything. 3 boys, all in a family, expelled, not because of anything they did, but rather because their mom is an online sexy lady.
Oh,
and other moms were in a tizzy about it.
Of course,
Crystal
they were.
Jackson.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
So she's posting videos.
She's got
pictures.
She's got multiple. She's got multiple. So, like, she does sexy photos, but not naked photos on, like, Instagram and other public accounts, and then also has an OnlyFans page where you presumably you can see her in her all together. The photographs are taken by her husband, apparently, largely.
Nice.
And
cool.
Apparently she is able to earn $150,000 a month doing this.
I thought you were going to be outraged at $150,000 a year.
Even that would be impressive.
I would be impressed by some. What? A month?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This woman is raking it in, and she's attractive, but she's like, middle-aged attractive. She's I think she's very pretty, but she's like, she's our age or whatever. That now I want to start an OnlyFans. Listeners, if you would pay to see my OnlyFans, please write in and let me know so that I know if I should do that or not. I'm going to do a secret one for Frank, too. It'll be an OnlyFans that Frank doesn't know about. So you guys let me know if that's something that you want, because I could do with a little extra cash.
This is not a direction, thank God I'm atheist, is going.
Don't slut-shame me,
It's not
Frank.
slut-shaming. You can do it as much as you want. Just don't do it as part of How to Heretic.
Anyway. It's both. It's for both. Okay. You guys let me know if you want it. Anyway, so she's been doing this, and apparently other moms literally not only complained to the school but sent images to the principal, from her Instagram and everything.
Okay, here's the deal. Here's the deal, Dan. How did they find this? Like somebody signed up from her Instagram. They didn't go on and send pictures from the OnlyFans. Is that what you just said?
They may have done.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Somebody's looking at this stuff.
But her
she's
Instagram
getting in trouble. Her kids are getting expelled. She's not really in trouble, but her kids are getting expelled, right, from the school. And you have all these busybody moms, and presumably, somebody's father who found the thing in the first place, right?
Or their son.
Or they found it.
Can you imagine these? These are 3 boys that got kicked out of this school. Can you imagine the schoolyard once it gets gets around that your mom is making $150,000 a month showing people her body?
It's a new day, Dan. It
is.
Totally
Who knows?
Era.
Maybe they're cool. You never know.
But
I'll tell you what. All it takes is one Christian mom walking in on her boy, enjoying the photos and
then looking at it and being like, "Well," being a little jealous.
Crystal.
Probably. Oh, Crystal. Is that her name? Crystal.
Her name is Crystal Jackson, but though online she goes by Mrs. Poindexter.
Okay. She's like, "Wow."
Feel free to look her up.
Who knew? Crystal.
Who knew?
Somebody's been doing her Pilates.
Yeah, I guess so.
Wow. All right. Well, Dan.
Yeah.
Speaking of this younger generation.
The whippersnappers.
These kids these days.
These rapscallions. Stay off of my lawn.
Specifically, I'd like to talk about Gen Z and
they're the most on the lawn of all of them.
Yeah. A poll that has recently come out about their sort of sexual identities.
Yeah.
And we have speculated in the past of sort of like what percentage of the population is or reported on, what population is gay and whatnot. And what have we what numbers have we thrown around in the past?
Oh, God, I'm supposed to pay attention?
5% of the country, probably, right? Identifies as
somewhere
as
in the
LGBT, right?
Between 5 and 10. Somewhere on that spectrum.
Yeah, and that's this poll actually shows that 5.6% of American adults identify as LGBT.
Okay.
But where do you think Gen Z fits in? What do you think? What percentage?
Well,
of Gen Z?
So what we know about Gen Z is that they're way cooler than a lot of us. Meaning, like, the social pressures to be X, Y, or Z thing are much lighter than they were in our day.
Oh, really?
Like there's a lot less pressure to you have to be straight or you have to be, men don't act that way with other men and girls don't do, there's a lot more we're talking about kids that were raised by our generation. So obviously they're cooler.
They've got cool parents,
They've got the coolest parents. So I'm going to guess that they're like a lot freer. And that doesn't mean that they're, that there's going to be more self-identified gay kids.
Does it?
I mean, there's going to be a lot more people out as a lot more out as trans, probably a lot more bi. I don't know. What do we got?
15% of Gen Z, 1 in 6.
Holy shit.
Identify as some sort of LGBT person. This is really it just crazy to me. Like, because what this says to me is, because like when they they were talking to older people too in this poll, right? And older folk sort of have a hard time applying certain words to themselves.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, this is why, like in public health, they just talk about men who have sex with men, right? Because it's just like, okay, sure, you're not gay. Whatever, right?
We get it. You're not gay. We're not saying you're gay.
Do you have sex with men? Oh, okay, cool. Now we know what to do, right?
Right, yeah, exactly.
And still, you probably you wouldn't get an honest answer from a lot of men,
right?
But if, as you say, Gen Z is just sort of just more willing to just kind of be themselves because of their awesome parents, I think we might be getting closer to real numbers about sort of human sexuality, right? And how nothing has changed as far as like preferences or identities. Identity maybe because that's what you sort of accept about yourself, right? But as far as like sexual preferences, I think we're getting close. I don't think we're fully there yet. But some other things that this poll found, that more than half of LGBT adults across the population identify as bisexual.
Wow.
Let that sink in for a minute because it's like...
You're saying more than half of you're not just talking about Gen Z.
I'm talking about LGBT adults throughout the population.
Oh, okay. More than half of LGBT identifying adults.
Yes.
Okay.
Are bisexual.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't that amazing? Because like they need to, the bisexual community needs to take over LGBT. It's like, I mean, it's often just been about the gays and the lesbians, and recently there's a lot more talk about the trans community and a lot more awareness, and the bisexual community has largely always just kind of been in the background, and it turns out they're over half of the community.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
About a quarter say they are gay. About 12% say they're lesbian.
Okay.
And about 11% say they're transgender. There's also an additional 3.3% of the broader LGBT community that don't like those terms, that sort of that identify as queer. Or here was one that I'd never heard before: same gender loving. So, I'm just same gender loving. So, there's some really interesting things, and it's I should also say that it's Gen Zers 18 to 23. It's the adult part of that cohort who responded to this. We don't know yet what about those 17-year-olds. They might be really screwed up.
They're wildly homophobic. Everyone below 18, just crazy homo and transphobic. Just so mean about it too. It's really weird. That line.
Yeah, but like if we are actually getting closer to like a real sense of what population isn't, heterosexual, I think it helps explain like why, like how there were always like people, gay or men who had sex with men, in high positions of power. There were always was some guy getting in trouble, right? There was always was some guy who was caught doing this or doing that. There's always all these like conservative, religious Republicans in state, legislatures that are getting caught, with gay prostitutes or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, yes, this explains, like we always knew that there were a lot of people out there, right?
Yeah.
But it just explains how prevalent it really is.
How many there are.
Yeah.
I that's really interesting.
I think it's awesome.
Very interesting. Well, wow, we've had a very upbeat, fun show so far. I'm going to take us down a little bit. We'll pull it back down. Then we'll bring it back up again, I think.
Okay.
We reported back in 2017 that the country of Russia Have you ever heard of it? It's a fairly large
Drawing a
country.
blank.
It exists somewhere on the other side of the world.
11 time zones. That's what I know about it.
Great. From Kamchatka all the way through to wherever. Anyway, yes, Russia in 2017 declared Jehovah's Witnesses an extremist faith group. And basically, in doing so, outlawed it. They made it illegal to practice Jehovah's witnessing for Jehovah, I guess. Well, the receipts are starting to come in on that one. So this just this last Wednesday, two people, a woman named Valentina Baranovskaya and her son Roman were both sentenced to 6-year sentences. I think both of them got 6 years for practicing that faith.
God.
Now, I am no fan of the J-dubs. I think my position is fairly clear on this show that that all religion is dumb, but Jehovah's Witnesses, not unlike Mormonism, really, really, like, there's something extra special stupid about it. But to be put in jail, to put an almost 70-year-old woman in jail.
No, that's gross.
In Russian prison, which I can't imagine that Russian prison is acceptable in any way. It seems like
Gulag comes to mind.
Well, what's
the word
that?
gulag comes to mind.
Yeah. It's atrocious. Yeah. It's not acceptable, and there you go. I don't know what to say about it. Like, what do you say? Wrong. Don't do that, Russia. You cut that right out.
Russia. You need to pay more attention to human rights, Russia.
Yeah.
We might have to sanction you, Russia. Russia's a baddie.
Well, I mean,
they're.
We might actually have a president who's willing to do that at this point. So we'll see. We'll see if anything comes of it.
On some stuff.
Surely the last president would have just rubber stamped this and been totally fine with it because Vladimir is his bosom buddy. But yeah, we'll see. We'll let you know if anything happens with it. But damn, an old lady's in jail because she's a Jehovah's Witness. I can't think of anything stupider.
Yeah, that is really dumb. And no, we're not going to do anything on this issue because we've got bigger concerns with Russia. So
we've got so many fish to fry.
Concerns that are going to piss off our allies, at least one very important ally, and they're not going to like it. Looking at you, Germany.
Deutschland.
Oh, if you don't know, just look it up. All right. Let's see. I got another poll. Dan, 2 polls in one show. How is this possible?
It's your favorite thing.
Dan, it's the best. We'll just get through this one really quickly. But this poll, actually it's a series of polls, were conducted kind of in response to that 2020 Pew Research poll that found that 45% of people across 34 countries think that believing in God is fundamental to being moral and having good values. And we know this. We know that people, this is one of their biggest gripes with atheists, right? The atheists can't possibly be moral without God. You know, are you just going to go out
without a completely immoral book telling them how to do it? You're just going to go
out and murder and rape without God. And it's like, oh, God, you people. Anyway, so a researcher wanted to get to the bottom of that whole question, right? And so she did 4 different polls spread out in the United States and in Sweden. I believe that's because that's her native country, but also because it has a high non-believing and atheist community, right?
Sure.
And they surveyed more than 4,000 believers and non-believers, and they asked questions that had them sort of measure values that steer sort of someone's moral compass, right? So they asked people to sort of value how they were inclined sort of to value freedom versus oppression, or care versus harm, or fairness versus cheating, loyalty versus betrayal, sanctity versus degradation, right? So they sort of framed it all around those concepts, right? To sort of test how the respondents sort of weighed in on those issues.
Right.
They also had an amorality index of sort of like on a 5-point scale, asking people to weigh statements like, I am willing to be unethical if I believe it will help me succeed, right? Stuff like that.
Right.
And what they found is not going to surprise anyone, which is there's measurably no difference between believers and non-believers in sort of moral behavior. But they did find that this is from the paper itself. It says the central message in this article is that disbelievers do have a moral compass, but that it is calibrated somewhat differently than the one used by religious observers. The results consistently indicate that believers and disbelievers in the U.S. as well as in Sweden are equally inclined to view the individualizing moral foundations, liberty/oppression, and epistemic rationality as important moral values. And it says atheists were less inclined to adhere to values that contribute to group cohesion, like showing respect for authority or in-group loyalty, which I think is really interesting. And I think that shouldn't surprise anybody at all, because, we're just a bunch of cats that you cannot herd. Like, if there's ever an atheist political movement in this country, right, I would be shocked, actually. Because I think that the thing is, we all value that sort of independence of thought. And so belonging to a group or a team, right, that has this...
It's not about belonging. It's just we don't allow for groupthink.
Right.
Groupthink is not what we're ruled by.
Exactly. So I thought this was really wonderful. And what I really like is that I saw this being reported in multiple places this week.
Right.
So it's obviously a message that needs to get out there more. I mean, I feel a certain sense of moral superiority over believers.
Right. I think it is. Look, I don't claim that I am morally superior to people, but I will say that, like, actually having to work through your own questions about what is and isn't moral will probably lead you, well, for most people, probably lead to more moral behavior because it's your own morality than just a prescriptivist sort of set of rules that are imposed upon you, and that's how you decide to define your morality.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Sweden, for that. Tacksverige. That's Swedish. I spoke Swedish just now. I know, like 3 sentences in Swedish, so I'm basically fluent. All right. Well, I am going to close us out with a bit about the Southern Baptists. Oh, they have been going through some trials and tribulations lately, or as their big dog J.D. Greer, the Southern Baptist Convention's president, said, they are having. Wait, where's the quote? It was great. He said they're experiencing fissures and failures and fleshly idolatries.
Oh, fleshly.
I don't know what that means.
Fleshly.
Fleshly idolatries.
Those are the best idolatries.
That's the best kind. You should totally go in for that, JD. Anyway, it is a rough time, and they have recently expelled 4 churches.
What?
From the Southern Baptist Convention. So 2 of those churches have been expelled for hiring as their pastors men with previous records of sexual abuse. So I think that they're on the right track with that particular thing.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So both Antioch Baptist Church in Sevierville, Tennessee, and Westside Baptist Church in Sharpsville, Pennsylvania, both of them hired pastors who were known to have committed sexual crimes, convicted of them. Now, both of them, their crimes were back in the 1990s.
Oh, well, that's fine. We're not going to subscribe to this cancel culture bullshit. What's in the past is in the past. Tell me, kind sir,
Nope.
Did you repent of this? Fine, good.
Right.
Matter of fact,
they play it up.
Welcome to our community. Here are our children.
The Pennsylvania church plays it up as their pastor has lived as a great sinner and rebel, but has gone from disgrace to amazing grace and now serves the Lord Jesus Christ. Blah, blah, blah. Great. Okay, so you know what? Good on you, Southern Baptist Church, for at least having that much integrity to say, yeah, maybe we need to have just a system-wide policy of one strike and you're out.
Yeah.
You don't get to be a pastor if you've ever had if that's in your past.
Right, exactly.
I'm fine with that. I'm also fine with like the idea that somebody may have had something go wrong in their past and they can be forgiven is fine and all, but like you don't get to be a pastor anymore.
I think, you were a junkie, right? And now you're a pastor.
Right.
That's fine.
Yeah. That's a great story.
That's an
Everybody
awesome
loves that story.
Right? That's totally different. You can have okay, why am I setting up rules that are acceptable for these churches? But like in my mind, if you're going to be a leader of a community of that kind, right? There's all sorts of things that you could do in your past. And I would believe you to be repentant, possibly, right?
Yeah.
But there are things that you just sorry, dude.
But it's just like it's just not worth taking any risks on.
No, of course not.
Don't put children into risky situations.
No.
That's just yeah. So that's great. So there's another set of two churches that have also been expelled from the Baptist Convention.
Wow, they're on a roll.
They are. They're really cleaning house. And this, I'll let you sort of make up your mind about this choice. Both the Townview Baptist Church in Kennesaw, Georgia, and St. Matthew's Baptist Church in Louisville were both kicked out for being nice to gay people. Yeah. And not we're not talking about ordaining gay people into their priesthood or fucking even, presiding over their wedding. What we're talking about is allowing gay people to be part of the church, to just sit in the congregation and participate.
That is a slippery slope, Dan.
It sure is.
That is a slippery slope because that's just everybody's gonna like them. They're gonna they're gonna be important parts of the community.
They're gonna bring all the best things to the potluck. And before you know it, some redneck's gonna be like, you know what, them two guys ain't all that bad, to be honest. I don't know what the big deal is. And then
oh my god,
anarchy.
I can't
believe
chaos. These are Southern Baptists. We're still talking about Southern Baptists.
Southern Baptists, baby.
Wow.
So
good for them.
And for their part, apparently they stand by it. The Georgia church, he's like, yeah, guilty as charged. We're on it.
We love the gays.
I mean, I don't know how much they love them, but they certainly will take their tithing money.
We tolerate the gays.
Yeah.
And their money.
Yeah. I think they're right to I think probably the Southern Baptist Convention is right to kick them out, and they are right to be fine with leaving.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fair enough.
I mean, this had to have been mildly controversial even amongst their own communities. Like,
this is the problem, right? There has been this internal fight in all of the churches. You know what I mean? Every church
on the congregation level, like, it wasn't like they just found, a few hundred super turbo open-minded, like, Southern Baptists, did they?
In Georgia?
Like
in Tennessee or whatever?
All of them congregated in one room?
Right.
And they're all like, yeah, let's let the guys in. Like, that's good on them, I guess, if that's what happened.
I'm guessing it was just pastors that looked at people who are just good people and just went, okay, come on.
Well, good on them. All right.
So there you go. Hey, listen, folks, if you have anything you'd like to say about gay pastors or whatever you want to talk about, please feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There's more show coming up. Hey, Dan.
Yeah.
Sometimes good advice just comes along that has to be shared. And in this case, this good advice comes from Pastor Perry Stone.
It's a name that if it were in a script, you'd be like, can we go with something a little more realistic than Perry Stone?
Perry Stone looks like his show. In the background, the little graphic says Manna Fest.
Oh, get it? Like, it's Manifest.
Yeah.
But it's Manna -fest. Like, it's a festival of manna. Okay.
Oh, golly.
He's great. Obviously, we know just from that and the sort of purple on purple striped shirt that he's wearing.
Yeah.
But he is going to tell us how to deal with bullies, or at least how it worked for him.
Yeah. And once you hear his voice, you'll understand why he was bullied.
I believe 100% that this man was bullied as a child.
Yeah.
I just don't believe these stories literally at all. Anyway, here's what he had to say.
I had a guy bullying me one time, big old boy, pushed me up against the locker, and I just turned and I said, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I bind you in the name of Jesus. And he just looked at me and started laughing. Well, it was like the next day or 2 days later, he came and he had cast on both of his legs walking with crutches. And I said, man, dude, what happened to you? He said, get away from me, get away from me. You put a hex on me. I said, I didn't put a hex on you. He said, yes, you did. I said, well, what happened? He said, well, I was passing your house. He lived in my neighborhood. And he said, I shot the bird, that's what he told me, towards you. And when I turned the corner, I wrecked my motorcycle and hurt both my knees. And I said, see what you get. You shouldn't have messed with somebody who's a believer. And he never messed with me again. I think he was afraid of that. Well, I'm not telling you that's the best thing to do. On another occasion, a bunch of guys were bullying me, and of course, I was a young kid filled with the Holy Spirit saved, and I just started going. They said, man, what's wrong with you? I said, have you never read the Bible? I said, Samson, the Spirit of God came on him, and he killed 1,000 men. I feel it coming on me. You better get out of the way. I mean, they ran. I never heard from those guys again. They attended public school.
Oh, Pastor Perry Stone.
Oh, he's got such good stories.
You, sir, are what we call a liar. You didn't do any of that shit. That literally happened in the fantasy that you had in the shower that morning.
Oh, you don't believe Perry Stone called forth the Lord and had him break 2 knees?
Here's what I don't believe. I don't believe that somebody said that he was driving his motorcycle past your house and he shot the bird at you.
Yeah, this guy.
Shot the bird? Does anybody use that term? Is that a real term somewhere in the world?
No, unless you actually shot a bird with a gun.
Well, sure.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Perry Stone.
The bird.
All right.
Perry Stone. Poor soul. Poor.
You just... You dumb guy. All right. So we had some folks write into us. So let's get to that. Paul wrote into us to rightfully call me out. I was very, very, very wrong on a story I did last week.
What did you do?
Well, here's what Paul says. I love your show. Just listened to the last show and couldn't believe my ears as to what you were saying about the new Tennessee abortion bill. So I did some double checking, and I think you should as well. You'll recall that what I said was that the new bill would propose that a father could stop his daughter from having an abortion. I was so wrong about that, and I went back and looked at the article that I was reading from and realized that I had read literally one word wrong, and the rest of the article was phrased in such a way that if you made that mistake, you could continue that mistake the entire rest of the article.
Oh, no. Okay.
The truth is, the truth about Tennessee SB 494 is that it was it's a proposed law. It still hasn't passed yet, but basically it says that the father of the potential child, meaning the guy who got the woman pregnant.
Yeah, okay.
That makes so much more sense. I'm a big dumb idiot. My fault entirely. But yes, it's still a terrible law. It's still a horrifying law.
Here's the deal, Dan, though. And this is telling, which is you told me the story and I believed it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's I think that says something about the lengths to which conservative legislators have gone in the past, and to the fact that, like, just because a bill is introduced, right, doesn't mean that it's going to become law.
Right.
And so, like, I thought it was just some nitwit. You know, we've had plenty of those in Utah who, you know, they pontificate and issue something.
But this one,
okay, that's totally different and
it's
still awful.
Yeah, so awful. And thanks so much, Paul, for helping me with that correction. I stand corrected, and being accurate is actually important to us somewhat. So there's that. M wrote into us to say, I am employed by a very large corporate insurance brokerage firm, which many of the churches, Catholic, LDS, Methodist, televangelists, etc., purchase insurance through.
Oh.
I had only been on the job a couple weeks when I saw my first, quote, abuse and molestation policy. Of course, intellectually, I knew it was something that existed, but to read one for the first time was still infuriating and emotionally damaging. You spoke about how the church likes to selectively pretend they're small and disparate. We're talking about the Catholic Church, because you remember last we talked about all the Catholic churches and how they break themselves up in as though each diocese is its own thing,
right,
so that they can shield themselves from huge lawsuits. Mm-hmm. You spoke about how the church likes to selectively pretend they're small and disparate to reduce their seeming culpability and mitigate public blowback for the org as a whole. It's likely no surprise to anyone that they do this on the legal side as well. Speaking to the Catholic Church, specific to the Catholic Church, they purchase separate policies for the individual diocese because it reduces their legal and financial costs, which we all know, of course, the poor defenseless bastions of all that is right and good are being unfairly made to go bankrupt paying. When the church says they're going bankrupt, it's really only a specific diocese, leaving the rest just fine.
Yeah. Wow. Gross.
Yeah. It's dumb and ugly out there in the world of churches.
Yes.
All right.
I have
Will
some
wrote
voicemail.
into us.
Oh,
do a voicemail. How much fun is that? I didn't even know.
Yeah. So last week, sorry to cut you off like that, Dan.
Oh, no, please do. Dive in.
But last week, at the end of the show, we asked for anybody who felt like maybe we had, like, you know, been a little too rough on old Rush Limbaugh to make sure that they called in and tell us about that, right?
Okay.
So, Yeah, here's the first one I want to play.
Hey guys, Dr. Terry Daniel here. You know me. We've communicated a few times, commenting on the whole Rush Limbaugh thing. As you know, I am a hospice worker. I see people die every day, and that dude, Lance Wallnau's ridiculous prayer propagates the most dangerous thinking imaginable. What did he call it? Begging Jesus to tear up the cancer assignment for Rush Limbaugh. So I see people pray that way all the time, and of course 99% of the time they are disappointed. Once in a while the person doesn't die, at least not in the immediate present, but if they're that sick, of course they will die eventually anyway, and the prayer has no effect because, and here's the big truth, which is not a big surprise, nothing can make someone not die other than medical interventions. And even that is short-lived because everybody dies no matter what. It can't be prayed away. But classical Christian theology, which is infinitely toxic, teaches that death can be transcended with faith. While that is probably supposed to be applied to concepts of the afterlife, when has that ever been shown to be true in terms of physical death? One-word answer, never. And I just saw online today that the governor of Florida is lowering flags at half-staff in honor of the scumbag Rush Limbaugh. So thank you for your awesome show this week. I love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Oh, thanks, Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it turns out you die.
Yeah.
Every one of you.
Nothing you can do about it.
I mean,
Sorry.
pray. Go ahead and try. It is such a bizarre concept. Look, we've talked about this, I think, but the whole concept of intercessionary prayer at all is absurd from their perspective.
Yeah.
Like, the concept of, dear God, please change your perfect and immutable plan for my feelings.
I'm that important, aren't I?
What are you talking about? If there is an almighty God with a perfect and immutable plan, just pray and say, hey, thanks again, and that's it. That's the only prayer that's worth anything.
Yeah, indeed.
That's insane.
And then we have another caller who somehow finds the exact same word that Terry used to describe Rush Limbaugh.
Hey, fellas. Regarding your discussion about Rush Limbaugh, you know, I held a candlelight vigil for him, but I did it at noon, so I don't think anyone could see the candles. I don't know. It was a mess. But I just want you to know that, he was a scumbag. You know what? And I do not like to wish death on anybody. I don't want to be happy about their death, but you know what? Fuck that guy. He was a bad human being. He and Newt Gingrich started this bullshit. Okay. Oh, by the way, I like you guys. Okay, bye.
Well, thanks. That's amazing.
Oh, I love that.
I hope that your candles were arranged in a pentagram.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the only kind of candlelight vigil that guy deserved.
Yeah.
Some sort of black mass where you send his soul to hell.
Yeah.
Well, we have one more email I wanted to get to. This was sent in to us by Will, who is apparently taking some college. Oh, a college boy. Here to go, Will.
Jesus, Dan.
So apparently he sent us some slides from a college class lecture.
Oh.
And says, I genuinely don't know what to think.
Okay.
And I decided to grab one of the slides and just discuss it quickly with you. It says it's spirituality. And it defines
what's the class? Does he say what class it's
doesn't say what class.
Oh, okay.
But defines spirituality as belief in what some call a higher power, in parentheses, i.e. someone or something that transcends the boundaries of self. Great. Isn't that everything else? Okay. I believe in lots of things that aren't me, so maybe that's it. Gives rise, and then under belief in what some call a higher power, it says that it gives rise to a strong sense of purpose, values, morals, and ethics. And then Another bullet point, religiosity and religiousness refer to various spiritual practices under which it says religious individuals are less depressed, less anxious, and better able to cope with stress and crises.
Wow.
You know, it reminds me of a quote by George Bernard Shaw, who said something like, the fact
quoting
that
Shaw, Dan.
I'll quote Shaw. I'll quote Shaw right at you if you're not careful. Or at least I'll paraphrase Shaw.
Okay.
Because I don't guarantee that this is the quote. But something along the lines of, the fact that a believer is happier than a non-believer is no more to the point than the fact that a drunken man is happier than a sober one. I like that quote. But here's the other thing. The fact, if they have found, and I assume that this is based on some research, that, religious individuals are less depressed and less anxious than non-religious, they haven't found a causal relationship. What they've found is a correlation.
Right.
And that could very well be because, I don't know, let me think just off the top of my head, our whole country hates us, maybe? Maybe because we are more reviled than rapists in at least one of the one of the polls out there. Well, there are lots of reasons why that might happen,
and there might be some benefit to living in a delusion.
Sure,
right? As far as just having a rosy outlook on things, because you got things figured out.
Yeah, exactly. That may well be true. It doesn't make
it's
that
just
life
speculation.
more worth living. It doesn't make that a better life.
Yeah.
The fact that you have a rosier outlook and you're wrong.
That sounds like a great life. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, probably. You're probably right about that. Anyway, thank you guys all for writing and calling in. We have some folks to thank. Here's how I want to start it this week.
Oh, okay.
I want to start by thanking someone who wrote a review of our show this week.
Yeah.
Because we want to encourage this. Look, not everybody can afford to give us their money. That's fine. But if you can't, but everyone can afford to throw 5 stars at us.
Yeah.
And if you write a review, all the better. This one just says, always another great show, fellas. Thank you. Word. Which I
actually
like.
Saying something, actually typing in something, is actually beneficial.
Yeah,
right?
it just helps. It tells the algorithm to show us to some more people. It helps people find us. So that's super helpful for us if you're willing to go out and do that. And then the other super helpful thing is to do what Ashley did. I'm starting us off. Ashley is now a new PayPal donor, monthly donor. So we confer upon Ashley the Aaronic priesthood. You are now a deacon. Thank you so much, Ashley. I assume we have some other folks to thank as well?
We do indeed. We have 2 new deacons on Patreon, Dan.
Great.
And lest anybody, wonder about how they can, too, join in and become a supporter of the show, you can go to thankgodimatheist.com and just click on the support tab. But these 2 new deacons are Gus Bus and Anthony. Thank you to the both of you. And we have a new elder.
Ooh. That's
elder.
Melchizedek priesthood, bitch.
Yeah. And I'm going to say it's sort of a collective elder. They sort of got the Melchizedek priesthood conferred upon their entire family, the Stanton family.
Oh, Stantons, way to go. Give somebody a blessing. Go out there and exert your newfound magic powers.
So thanks, guys. And as always, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Devas. Dan.
Yes.
Oh my God. We're talking about
there's trouble at Fox News. They are scared.
Oh, there's something that they hate. There's something that conservatives really hate, and they like to malign it a lot, which is cancel culture.
Well,
right?
Okay, you say they hate it. They love cancel culture. They just don't like it when liberals do it. Literally, they are canceling left and right all the time. I just read about a guy who no longer is speaking at CPAC People, they cancel all over the place. They just don't like it when it happens to them.
Right. Exactly. And what I think we're finding out about conservatives is that they've got a snowflake problem too.
Oh, they are the snowflakes. That is the thing. So they were responding to the fact that, like, you know, there's sort of a review in process of American history. We're actually catching on to the fact that a lot of the people that that you and I, Frank, were taught to deify in American history.
Yeah.
weren't heroes, or rather they were heroes, and they had like wildly problematic things too.
Exactly.
We don't have to I personally don't think they have to be canceled, but we have to acknowledge the darker side of when you have slave ownership and you have all sorts of other things.
Yeah. We need an honest telling of our history. Like
right.
a real warts and all telling of our history. And that's totally fine. It doesn't, in my mind, and I know that there are people who are wanting to take the names of like George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and a few others. Thomas Jefferson, right? Was Abraham Lincoln on the list? No, probably not Abraham Lincoln. But like Thomas Jefferson and a handful of others, right? Take their names off of like schools, for example. And I think that, like, I personally just think that it would be so much better for us to find a way to, because we're talking about George Washington here. Like, we don't have the peaceful transfer of power, let's say, right?
Right.
That is a tradition and a hallmark until recently of American democracy without George Washington establishing that example. So he's obviously this incredibly important figure beyond the fact that he's General George Washington who won the Revolutionary War, right? How do you still honor the good that came from these figures while very much acknowledging and not
whitewashing at all.
Not whitewashing in any way, shape, or form the fact that they were slave owners and amongst other problems, right?
I mean, we were taught to revere fucking Christopher Columbus.
Oh, my God. No kidding. Yeah.
Like, now that we know the real history, that man needs to not be revered. There's nothing heroic about him.
I'm fine canceling Christopher Columbus.
We
totally
can fully cancel that dude. But these guys would, Bill Hemmer, Fox News, they would hate that. That's the worst.
Oh, I know.
Because then they have to revise any of their already held opinions. Here's the thing. What Hemmer said, the quote is, if they start canceling these American presidents, they're going to come after Bible characters next. Mark my words. And guess what? The whole internet was like, well, since you mentioned it...
Yeah, you probably should.
Let's go right on ahead and maybe do that, because that book is crazy.
Yeah.
And pretty much every character in it needs canceling. Yeah. Like, literally every single one of them. Solomon, the great and wise Solomon, was going, like, first of all, the thing that he's most famous for, which is the whole thing of, like, the two women are arguing over whose baby it is, and he says, let's cut it in half. That's literally the most idiotic thing I've ever heard in my life, and no women in the universe that have ever existed would ever have fallen for that. That's obviously a made-up story, because never in the history of the world would one woman go, oh, yeah, that sounds like the right plan. Let's just cut it in half.
I do want half the baby.
I would half is better than none of a baby. I'll take half the baby. I get top.
God.
That is
I always saw it more like cut, head to... Head to toe. Like bisected, right?
That's just a harder cut. I'm just thinking you can't. Skull is just going to be just a nightmare to get through.
Well, who wants just legs?
So anyway, that he's out. We'll cancel him. That's no problem. You got David. Everybody reveres David. He killed Goliath. He was the great king. He was the beginning of the kings of Israel. Got to cancel him. The whole Bathsheba incident. Are you kidding me? He lusts after a woman who's taking a bath and he kills her husband to get her. Come on, man. Got to cancel that guy. Let's cancel everybody.
Yeah.
Then there's, I mean, not for nothing. The main character of the whole book is like literally one of the most despotic, horrific characters ever imagined by human beings.
Wait, the main character of the Bible?
God! That dude was a nightmare. He literally killed every human being on earth except 7 of them one time. He literally, like, that dude, he was like, he told people to genocide each other, super pro-slavery, super, like, literally the worst.
Yeah.
Was
it's totally true. Like
literally didn't care at all about rape, but had thousands of verses of rules about what birds you were and weren't allowed to eat. Like,
but he goes for the important things, Dan.
Right?
Right. Like, you gotta know, like, you seriously don't want to eat ibis.
Right?
You don't.
Just stay away,
That's
man.
a terrible idea.
Yeah. Cranes, storks, all of those. You kind of want to just leave that whole group alone.
Mergansers.
A coot? Don't eat a coot.
Don't eat a. They're so. Oh. No, you probably could. Can't you? You can't have
Actually,
duck?
Mergansers are probably good too. That's a duck. You're fine. I like duck.
How about what is it? A gold-eared grebe?
Yeah, you could probably eat a grebe, but stay away. But you don't get rid of the ossifrage. You don't want an ossifrage. That's one that's actually mentioned in the Bible.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I just also want to say, everybody out there, those were all off the top of our heads. We didn't like. I didn't have a list of weird birds that I was like. Just
no.
We happen to know those. Birds.
We have gone together to. We have driven 2 hours to a bird refuge just for
to hang
a
out.
fun day of bird watching. We are that nerdy. It's true. Oh. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I think it's safe to say canceling biblical characters is a fantastic idea. You are absolutely right, Mr. Hammer. We are canceling them.
We're coming for you.
They are canceled
for your Bible characters. Oh God. I mean, it's total truth. Is there? I mean, what about the New Testament? Is there anybody who you can like?
Who I would want to save from the New Testament?
Yeah, like Jesus. I don't know. Kind of had a temper. He was kind of a jerk, right?
His solution to a dude who was possessed by demons was to kill a whole herd of pigs.
Yeah,
like cast the demon into the pigs and then send them into the water. What kind of a dude does that? Just cast away the demon. You literally don't have to get the pigs involved at all.
Yeah, no middleman. Put the demon in the water. You are God.
Just drown the demon.
God. You don't need to.
There's no reason to get pigs involved.
He was a showman, right?
He was a showman.
It's
true.
So much more impressive to like watch the whole herd.
Yeah.
Run off.
It's literally just I don't know that anybody in the Bible's worth saving. Maybe like Mary Magdalene. She seemed like she might be cool.
Yeah, does she have a line in the entire thing?
Does she? I don't know.
We know nothing about her. I mean, not really.
She just
like the one person you want to save is the person we know nothing about.
Yeah. That's literally the only way you're okay in the Bible. If we know nothing about you, then we don't know anything bad. At least there's that. I know that she wasn't a whore. I know that was put on her after the fact.
Right.
I don't know. It's literally it is the stupidest of all the books. It's so yes, the Bronze Age, just cavalcade of evil characters. I think we're happy to let it go. Unfortunately, atheism is the fastest growing segment of the population. So yeah, it really is happening. We genuinely are canceling these people. So good.
I never want to hear their names again.
Right.
And as a show that talks about this stuff all the time.
Right.
Like,
There's a show that makes all of its, hey, by talking about these characters. Right. Yeah.
We'll just have to uncancel for a minute and cancel them again. And bring them back on.
I mean, it's a lot easier to cancel fake people. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, fair enough.
A lot of the people in the Bible we do have historical records of, but a lot of them were just made up. So we can cancel those guys, right?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Well, listen, if you have any suggestions for who you'd like to cancel from the Bible, feel free to write into us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. 424-666-8442 is the number.
Yeah, hey, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist. Click the like button.
And if you'd like to join the members only lounge on Facebook, go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/members only.
Yeah, just remember that, /members only. That'll take you straight to it. You don't have to trifle with Facebook's weird search engine thing.
That doesn't get you there.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, follow the Twitter. What's the Twitter?
@TGIAtheist. And reminder, family home evening with us, right? March 8th. Mark your calendars.
8th. You have until the 8th. If you're not a patron already, you have until the 8th to become one. Please feel free to do that. Thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their beautiful music.
And a big thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks so much to all of you for tuning in. We appreciate you.
Bye-bye.